Why the hell's it on that side? I didn't authorize that shit. I'm gonna put that shit over here. Damn it. Well, I guess. Animated because really kind of don't like it on this side. Where the hell's that up to? My video. Not there. Nope. These ones are advanced. I really don't remember. There we go. Found it. Put this shit back over here. Put this back over here. So at least I can be on that part. And then I'll start the recording in a minute. Just to see. Got the show pictures are still there. Here we go. Of course, now the air conditioner is going to kick in. Of course. Why wouldn't it? Oh, screen's down. See, this is why you test shit. The illusion's gone. Don't look behind the... Everything changes. What the fuck? All right. We'll have some fun. Oh, yeah. I gotta check and make sure that that thing isn't gonna fire. Good. Okay. Oh, jeez. All right, well, I guess we can get started. There's really nothing else to wait for, really. Kinda, sorta.
It's time for BGFG.
Gonads are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done. Great. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Fenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick FreeMo.
Oh yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
Like one day of not going to Duncan, and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now the group that can't count its nuts and come up with the same number twice.
Welcome to BGFG, episode 337. I'm your host, Chris Fenix, and unfortunately, FreeMo Z is not joining me today because he's getting sensitivity training again. That's all I can say legally right now. But it's been a hell of a week. You know, here at Phoenix Media Group, we had 2 computers fry with the weather that we had, some lightning storms and such. 2 computers fried. Thankfully, we didn't lose any graphics cards. That would have sucked. We'd have never gotten a replacement. But a couple of hard drives went. Motherboard went. So we had to replace all those. That took some time. And then, of course, loading everything back in. I can't tell people enough. And I tell people, it's funny because I tell people every single day to back up your shit. make sure your stuff's backed up. Always do backups. And now I am doing backups. Well, I mean, I've always done backups, but there's that incremental time or that time in between when you do backups. I don't do a standard all the time backup. I don't like doing those. I do them on my own. I usually take one Sunday a month, a cup of coffee, and I just walk around the house, updating everything to our central server in the house. So it works out pretty well. But this time it was in between because, again, as you can tell, it's the beginning of July. So I didn't do the July update. So I lost several things. And a couple of them were settings. So my mic might sound a little different. Good, bad, I don't know. But it'll sound different, to say the least. And some of the graphics and stuff, some things change. Some things change for the better. That's the great thing about when you have a computer issue and you start replacing stuff. And I tell people this all the time. Once a year, you should back up your shit. FreeMo and I have talked numerous times about 0-day mail, where, you know, you have all that shit in your inbox. You know what? You either haven't answered it yet, or the people that were waiting on an answer don't even wait anymore because it's been too long. So just zero that shit out. If it was super important, you know, you should have already answered it. If it was super important coming in, then you should have, you know, answered it, or they've responded to you again, or they've contacted you via phone. So doing that once a year. But we've also talked about resetting your computer once a year too, backing up your basic files, your documents, your pictures, shit like that, and just reinstalling Windows. It won't hurt anything. In fact, at the very least, you always find that you end up saving room, because I can't tell you how many times you'll not, like, I probably have 60 games in my game storage drive. I did have 60. Now that I think about it, I did have about 60 games. And when I reinstalled the operating system, I think I might have 6 or 7 in there now. I had all those other ones, and I'll probably end up getting that many again, because there's always stuff that we need to do on stick style. But at that moment, I'm like, no, I play about 6 right now, so let me just reinstall those 6. So it's not really too bad. So I encourage everybody to do that at least once a year. It really does save everything and refresh everything. You know, if you didn't mess around with it, something in your drive for years or months, you're probably not going to. So either put it into a cold storage like server or external hard drive, or just, you know, forget about it. Just move along. So unfortunately, on our show, we do something at the beginning of the show called Not Coming Down for Breakfast. Usually it's somebody that was part of our lives growing up, our Gen Xer lives, and they unfortunately passed away because we are not getting younger. Unfortunately, I have to report that Ned Beatty passed away at 83 years old. This was the guy that was in Superman. He was also the voice for Lotso in Toy Story 3, and he's been in so many movies as a B actor or sitcoms on TV. The man always worked, and you'll know him, and he's one of those beloved characters that we grew up with, which was, you know, it's kind of cool and kind of not so cool. So here's a golden ticket and a towel for you, my friend, and Godspeed. Let's get into this week's show, and we'll get into our news first.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So first thing up in this week is Windows 11. It was officially announced, and I'm here to tell you that I'm already tired of hearing about it. I'm already tired of hearing about it. You might have seen the beta version it's been circulating on YouTube and such through some videos and shit. It'll be available at the end of this year. So there's already confusion, at least I know in the retail chain, especially with management. There's absolute confusion as to when this is coming out. It's going to be available at the end of this year, but most common folk won't be able to buy standalone editions till the beginning. They're saying first quarter of 22. So will you be able to get it by the end of the year? That is questionable. I would assume, being in the retail business, that you'll get Microsoft Surfaces that will have it installed by the end of the year, or if you order it directly from Microsoft, you'll get it installed with Windows 11. But for the most part, companies like HP and Dell might offer something for it, but you'll absolutely, for the holiday rush, see computers that are Windows 11 ready. Ooh, Windows 11 ready. Bullshit. Anyway, 6 years after they rolled out Windows 10, we're moving into something new. Right from the start, you notice that Windows 11 looks and feels different because of the way the graphical user interface looks. It's like Microsoft's Red Hat Linux had a hush-hush child with Apple. Now you suddenly, really, that's what the desktop looks like. It looks like it's got the center menu or tray, I guess you could say, like Linux version or Apple does. So it's, yeah, it looks pretty good. My favorite quote so far, though, is people that upgrade from Windows 8 and 7 will be in for quite a surprise. Yeah, you think? They go Windows 8 and 7. This is like something that looks like an Apple product. 7's been discontinued and no one even uses 8. Like I honestly have not seen Windows 8 in probably 8 to 10 months. Just, I haven't seen it. Nobody has it. Most people did the free upgrade to 10. Anyway, so Skype is gone from the forefront of Windows 11, which is a nice added feature, I think. It's been switched over to Microsoft Teams, which, again, I don't know, rest in peace, Skype, but Windows Teams, I don't see that really being pushed either. Windows updates are now 40% smaller, and they'll update in the background consistently. That's a nice feature. Apple does that now. Basically, with the phones, it's happening. It's starting to happen on the M1 Max, like mine, slightly, but for the most part, this is something new to Windows. But it's a nice added feature. But it's not anything special. A lot of other people are doing it. Microsoft, thanks for coming to the party. And on the gaming side, we're going to get auto HDR, and we're going to get that fast load times from, if anybody has a Xbox Series X, you'll notice the fast load times on games, and it is fast. So they're going to implement that into the hard drives, especially if you're using an M.2 in Windows 11. Again, great. Auto HDR and quick load times like the Xbox. Seriously, you're already doing this shit. You're not reinventing the wheel. I don't know. I don't see a lot going on. I think they're a little jealous of Apple's integration and synchronization with iOS because they're also going to add Android functionality, and it is big time. They are absolutely in Android full. They don't even want to hear it. Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass will be built into it as well, which is interesting. Interesting is the best I can say, because it's already on Game Pass now. It's already there. It should have been fully integrated into the operating system 2 years ago, and it's not. They're banking on a lot of working with Intel and their older Lake processors and utilizing Android because, again, Apple already has iOS integration, and the integration, I've complained many times on this show about the My Phone app that's built into Windows 10, and it doesn't do jack squat. And I have people I work with that swear by, I don't even remember the name of the Android app, it will float onto your desktop, so you can have a desktop version. I can't remember the name of it, but it is good. I've seen it. It's well done. And if you have an Android phone, it's like having a computer anyway. Same thing with an Apple iPhone. It's like having a computer in your pocket, so why not use it as such? But don't worry. My phone will still be there, and so will Groove Music, because we need some Groove Music. All right, so in my opinion, I think Microsoft and Intel are afraid. You can love them or hate them, but Apple makes big moves and advancements in the ecosystem that other companies strive to do, and other companies just fail at it. There's no reason why Microsoft had to end the Windows Phone. There's none. It was a good phone, and it was getting better. Honestly, with all the times I use Windows, I was actually thinking about getting a second phone, being a Windows phone, just for the integration purposes and ease of use for my work life, as opposed to my home life that uses a lot of iPhone and stuff. Changing the graphics on the front end, making it look kind of like an Apple, dumping Skype, one of the many companies that Microsoft has purchased and broken, integrating Android into their ecosystem. It seems very much that they're drawing a line in the sand for Apple. And as we said before on the show, if Apple hooks up fully with AMD for their GPU product on the same breadboard that they have that M1 chip, it's game over. And I honestly think Microsoft is starting to see that. I think somebody at Microsoft is taking a look and going, you know what? We could be screwed here. because Apple's always worked with AMD well, very closely. And if they just give them the chip once the chip shortage is really kind of fixed, and they just drop the chip on them, it's a done deal. I don't see how it couldn't be. You're gonna have full graphics capabilities. All you need now is for people to start writing games for Mac. And I don't know, but I can only assume it wouldn't be that hard when you have the entire culture. So if you can make a game that you can play portably, and then also plug it in when you get home, kind of like a Nintendo Switch, plug it in when you get home to your computer and synchronize everything from calendars and contacts and the gaming information. That's pretty much. Look, Microsoft doesn't need any money. They have enough government contracts and money from the government to take them into the next damn millennium. But they still need to try and innovate and not be greedy, unlike other corporations in this country. Kind of like Big Pharma. So Big Pharma is, they're just dumb. You know, they're dumb. Big Pharma is constantly trying to squeeze a buck out of somebody. And there's things, you can look it up. There's things like $50,000 treatment pills. There's per pill. There's all sorts of ridiculous stuff. But Big Pharma is always to blame. And they got a problem now, because now a third member of the panel of outside advisors to the FDA is now resigned in protest. Aaron Kesselhelm, I'll never pronounce that right, a professor of medicine at Harvard. He's been on this board since 2015. And this is all about an Alzheimer's disease treatment. And the committee recommended against having this as part of the treatment. The 11-member board voted unanimously that the drug was not effective. This is not the first time this sort of shit's happened. So this board, this outside of Big Pharma, I guess you could say, is a committee of 11 members, and they decide really kind of when stuff should come out and if it's good, if it's going to, because there's going to be side effects. Look, you might live under a fucking rock, but the reality is that every single drug that you take to get yourself better has some sort of side effect. 9 times out of 10, it's so insignificant that you don't have to talk about it. Other times, like my former ex-father-in-law has to take one pill, but then has to take another pill for those side effects. And I think that's where a lot of the problems are and conspiracy theories start, because you're taking one pill to help you, but then you're taking another pill to stop the side effects from the first pill. And it's just a nasty, I mean, my wife takes like 13 pills a day now, and it's getting ridiculous. And half of them are to stop side effects or to counter side effects. And it's really sad when you see that sort of thing. But this board is supposed to help with that, because there's going to be certain side effects that you got to get let through, and there's certain other ones that you don't. We've all sat there late at night watching TV. There's always some commercial comes on. Listen to the side effects. It's like anal bleeding. It's genital warts. Well, I had a hangnail. Your pill for hangnail is now giving me anal bleeding. That's not a good trade-off. So Big Pharma has, and this isn't the first time that they've had to like push back. And now you're getting people on this board leaving because this, Big Pharma's trying to get paid, and it's costing people lives. The worst is giving families hope that the drug may work, and it really doesn't. Look into it, read the article in the show notes, and it gets really much more intricate. I was going to do a big thing on it, and I actually erased most of it because it was just getting so thick into it. The nutshell is it doesn't do what it says it's going to do, and it's going to be a money grab for Big Pharma yet again. And this committee, 3 people stepped down because if you're going to pass that, we don't want to have any part of it at all, any part. It's often difficult to do stories like this about average people, average working man, and it gets kind of touching. Big businesses lie to you, lie to the government, and then the government doesn't tell you the whole truth because half the time they say that they're trying to save us. But there's stuff that we kind of need to know. Like, I would have loved to know way early on that the U.S. military is losing guns. And I don't mean that they're losing guns like they're losing money to buy guns. I mean they're losing weapons. Look, everyone has a right to own a gun. Before we even start this topic, I want to say that really clearly, is that I'm a firm believer, whether I own a gun or not, I believe everybody has the right to own a gun. I do not agree that everybody has the right to own a bazooka or a fully automatic assault rifle or, bombs or something like that. No, but pistol, handguns, same thing. Handguns, shotguns, rifles, things like that. I believe every single person has the right to own to defend their property, to defend themselves. But make no mistake, you have to get the guns legally. And unfortunately, the streets have more and more guns out there. And everybody's wondering where they're coming from because there's always these gun buyback programs. The Associated Press did an investigation, and they found that there's 1,900 U.S. military firearms that were stolen in the 2010s alone. That's a lot of, that's almost 2,000 guns were missing. Armed services have suppressed all of this information. And, again, you gotta kind of look at it from a Gen Xer's point of view. Do you suppress it? Yes, that's going to create mass hysteria. People are losing guns. The military base is losing guns. Odds are some disgruntled U.S. employee is selling them on the black market, and they're getting out on the streets. So because of this, the Associated Press's account is almost guaranteed to be lower. Their account of everything is almost guaranteed to be lower, because if the government's already suppressing, or the military's already suppressing the numbers, then we're not even getting the full amount. And it's from all branches: Navy, Coast Guard, Army, Marines. It's from all branches: pistols, shotguns, assault rifles. Explosives are going missing. An armor-piercing grenade was found in a backyard in Atlanta. Armor-piercing grenade. That's going to go through friggin' everything. And that was found in a backyard. That's insane, man. Army Secretary Kristen Wormuth would be opening an investigation, but, I mean, let's see how far that goes. We never hear the results or the proper results from any investigation anyway, but we are, we'll make it public that we're doing an investigation. The article in the show notes poses way more questions. Give it a read, take a look, and you'll be surprised at what you see, because you're going to see a lot of little intricacies as to what they're saying and doing, and everything's not copacetic. I don't think so. I just think it's odd, if the military is going to have that many weapons, and they do have a lot of weapons, then they need to lock them down. And if there's a breach somewhere where they're getting out onto the streets or being sold on the black market, that's something we have to look at too. It's different when your military collapses, kind of like what happened in the USSR, and then all that shit, tanks, subs. I mean, you could buy that shit on the underweb, on the Silk Road. I thought it was funny. You'd see that shit on the Silk Road all the time. I'd go on there and you see like a submarine for sale, or 2 crates of guns, and they were treating that like you were going down to CVS. It was quite funny. All right, so let's get into this week's music, because I have something to say about the music shit too, which kind of pisses me off. So we cannot play music anymore on the live feed going to YouTube, and we can't play it theoretically. I mean, I'm going to play it on Twitch streaming anyway. I don't give a shit, and they can just shut me down, whatever. But you can't replay it. You can't monetize it, which I was fine with. I didn't want to monetize it anyway, but I've gotten 2 strikes on YouTube already, so I can't put it up there. So what we decided to do is brainstorming while you're trying to fix computers and get them running so you can do the show. What we decided to do was, instead, what we're going to do is we're going to play the music for this week, tell you what the music is, and play the music. But we're going to play the video only. So you can queue up the song, and the song for this week is from Royal Blood. It's called Typhoon. We just figured we'd bring Royal Blood back. The song's called Typhoon, so go grab it on YouTube and whatnot. And when we switch over to it, you'll be able to watch the video on the screen, but there's not going to be any audio, so you can actually watch the music video while you're listening to the song on your own. As for the podcast, the audio podcast that goes to Stitcher and iTunes and all that, that will have the song on it, uncut. I'll just punch it in later. So I just want to touch upon this again before we go to break. We've introduced a lot of bands on this show over the past 20 years. And some of them were never even heard from before, in my opinion. I worked in radio when I was younger. I still know people that work in radio. And some of the songs that we play, I've never heard on the radio, and I still don't hear on the radio, and they're good quality songs like Cage the Elephant. Didn't hear shit about them for a while. Royal Blood is another one. Dirty Honey, whom we love at FMG. Don't hear them on the radio literally at all, and it's a damn shame because they're a good band. We've had B-sides from popular artists that, you know, you might never have heard from, and now you can go back into your album collection and listen to that song because you kind of like it. But again, we got the 2 strikes, and we can't really do that. So it's going to be kind of interactive. And then we'll come back on the other side after the song's kind of ended or the video's ended. I'll kick it back in, and we'll go over to stick style, and we'll get to the second half of the show. So until then, let's pop over to the intermission, and we'll catch you on the other side for, you know, maybe I have a little song. I'll probably get pulled for this one too. I'll do a little segue, then we'll get over to the intermission.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right. That was Royal Blood, song Typhoon. I do like that song. I do like Royal Blood. I think they have a lot of potential. They did a collab with Run the Jewels, another favorite from Fenix Media Group. So that'll always get you points. You know what I mean? All right, let's get into this week's Stick Style. And let's see if I still save the absolutely worst gaming intro ever.
Gaming.
Yep, sure did. Like embarrassing. All right, so first thing we're going to start talking about is the GPU shortage, our GPU update. Someday I'll remember to get a song, hopefully, before the GPU shortage is over. That'd be great. There's still none. There was some talk that there's supposed to be more being available, that a bunch of people in China that were doing cryptocurrency got pinched. So that's going to, quote unquote, ease demand for the GPUs. I think that is absolute bullshit. It's not going to happen. Look, the chip shortage is massive for multiple reasons. There's people that, look, let me break it down. There's like 2 or 3 companies that make the silicon fab of the chip itself. Now you have people that need that chip to write code onto and develop that chip. You have everybody from, let's just say chips. You have AMD processors, NVIDIA processors for their GPUs, their graphics cards. You have cars. Some cars have 6 to 7 silicon in them. You have computer manufacturers. You have smart TVs. You have shit. I mean, just sit back, pause this damn podcast, and just think about all the things that have a microchip in them. Just think about that. Your camera, everything. Every warehouse is empty. So because every warehouse is empty, then they can't make it. Well, they can't make them fast enough to put them out there because of COVID. And it wasn't like COVID infected some plastic shit somewhere. No, people were going to work. And then people were hesitant to go to work. And then people went to work in spurts. Well, who gets the chips first? Really? NVIDIA should get a chip before an ambulance manufacturer or a manufacturer of MRI machines? I don't think so. That's a douchebag move. Your GPU is way down the list. It's just what we see more of. Cars are the same way. Then you start injecting stimulus into the economy. Well, everybody wants to go out and buy shit. Guess what? There's more demand because now there's money to spend, and nobody can spend it because there's nobody at work building or making the chips. The government said that they're going to do we talked about it before on the show, that they're going to do a stimulus, and they did, I should say, and inject all this money. It still takes time to build these fab facilities. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight, and they absolutely think it does, and I think it's stupid. So, again, we'll get GPUs hopefully next year sometime. I'm not rushing. And at this point right now, as much as I want to touch base upon this today. So as much as you may be a computer enthusiast and you want to build your own computer, maybe even you're really high end and you want to do your first order, that's awesome. Do you? I have a computer build downstairs waiting. I have a case. I have some parts for the case, fans and shit. But we're not building it. And it hurts. It's the new Corsair case, so it's beautiful. And it's white. We're doing an all-white build here at FMX, or at Stick Style, I should say. Me and my kids. And we can't do it because the motherboard that we want to get is now $700. That's ridiculous. And the GPU that we were going to do, actually we're going to do 2 GPUs, but the GPU that we're going to get is, I mean, you can only get it for like $2,000. $2,000 should be the total cost of your friggin' build. Really. For budget builders, that should be the total cost of your build. And 50% of that is for your graphics card. So, again, it's bullshit that all this, it really gets me irked that all this stuff is going. But back to what I was saying, if you do need a computer and you do want to get an upgrade, I would honestly suggest at this point, you got people that are going to be buying consoles. I think consoles are actually a good idea. Though out of the 2 right now, this moment, and again, if you're a gamer and you play all 3 consoles, which a lot of us Gen Xers do, If you play all 3 consoles, I guarantee you're going to agree with me. It's time and tide. Right now, at this moment, the Xbox is the way to go. And here's the reason why. Because on PC, you got some sketchy updates that are going through Microsoft right now. You have the Windows 11 hoopla, and you can't get a video card. PlayStation, which is great, but you can't get one. But if you can, and you can get a choice between an Xbox and a PlayStation, the PlayStation is not the one to get right now because the mainstream games, the AAA games, are not out yet. Everybody's banking on God of War Ragnarok, and rightfully so. They should be banking on that. It's going to be an absolute killer. But there's nothing to do now. The controller is phenomenal. We've told you on Stick Style before that the controller is the reason to get that system. But the system is ugly as hell. And then it's massive. For Gen Xers that are out there, it's the size of a first-gen VCR. It's huge and heavy. Don't turn this shit standing up, man. I don't know who's doing that, but don't let it lay flat. Less damage if it falls. But out of the consoles, you got to go with the Xbox. The Xbox they're getting the chips, they're installing the chips, their shit's running right, and they have a lot of good games. And the games that they're adding, whether it's Game Pass or not, they're upgrading older games to do the proper video output. For instance, on our stream of Stick Style, we jumped one day after that update that they did. Was it last month? A month before? The update they did, we jumped from 60 frames to 120 frames. So I'm running 120 frames all the time onto the capture card in the computer, and it works great. I love it. But right now, time and tide, I'm going with an Xbox. If you asked me pre-pandemic, I would have said PC. But because you have PlayStation now, you can play on the PC. You have game capture cards, so you can have both of your systems even stacked on top of each other and have a capture card if you don't mind switching them or buying a electronic switcher or manually switching the cords. It's there. You can do it. You can do it, and it runs really well. And plus, you have PC gaming itself, which, again, if you have a good card, you can keep going, but you can't get cars. That's the problem. So anyway, E3 came and went. The electronics show came and went. And we get a lot of DMs on our Twitter page, Stick Style Show. We get a lot of Twitters. We got one lengthy email, which I thought was really weird because we're not exactly like G4 or GameSpot. I mean, we suck. I mean, we really suck. Like, FreeMo barely keeps up. And myself and a couple of other staffers, we play, but we get locked into like certain games, and because we're getting old, we get locked into certain games after a shitty day of work, and we just play those games. We don't even broadcast. So it's really messed up the way everything goes, and we get a lengthy email giving us shit about not doing our E3 coverage because it was so concise and small. You know, like, you're not going to worry about this, and like, who the fuck cares what other Final Fantasy is coming out? There's always a Final Fantasy. Either they're remaking a fucking old one, or they're giving you a new one, which is rare, or they've adapted something of the current one so that shit doesn't suck. That's all they ever do with that damn game. So we don't talk about that. We talk about, like, stuff that might be important. Anyway, that was the email, and it was shitty. We got an email that somebody cared that much. We love our show. We want people to watch and listen to our show, but shit, man, we don't care that much. We're Gen Xers, man. We got shit to do. We're busy. Anyway, so the chip shortage combined with Microsoft acquiring Bethesda, which we knew was just going to occupy all of E3. Pardon me. And even as the pandemic has passed, in my opinion, fully, but let's be honest, partially, because it's passed, I don't think a lot of people are going to go. Like, even myself and my wife, we're huge Comic-Con people. We go VIP pass, get the whole 3-day pass. We're not going to go this year. Not because there's not people that we want to see or things we want to go. And I'm talking about people that are visiting, too. We see a lot of people we only see that time of year, and we hang out and we buy, drinks and shit like that. But it's more along the lines of just being safe, just being doubly safe. 2022, oh yeah, shit, we're going, probably dressed up. It's going to be awesome. But right now, we're not going to do that at all because it's not super safe. So we didn't really care too much about E3, and I think E3 didn't care much about E3. It was basically the Xbox show, let's be honest. So the Xbox, or Microsoft purchased Bethesda, which you kind of saw, and you knew that this was going to happen during E3. You were going to see all the announcements, the big segue. It's already on Game Pass. You can see those games there. It's nice to have them on board. This is what Microsoft does. Apple buys, look, I'll break it down for you real easy. Google buys shit and tries to integrate it and somehow falls on their face every single time. Nobody in the tech world understands what Google does or why they do it. Apple acquires a company and utilizes their technology to make their name brand better. And they do every time. Regardless of the technology, they're making it better. They do. Microsoft acquires the technology and literally strips it of anything it can use, like mining it. It's really sad. They pay out the CEOs and the high-level people. Like, they really pay them out. Like, get the hell out of here. Here's a shit ton of money. And then they usually keep the program or the acquisition for a couple of months, and then they completely bail on it. It happens all the time. It's just absolutely shitty. So when it comes to Microsoft announcements, again, Xbox is kind of different because they're kind of led by Spencer, who's really got a lot of control and clout because of where he's brought Xbox to. But again, you have to answer to a higher power. Xbox purchased Bethesda. They're integrating the games onto almost every single game on their Game Pass is not theirs. Just remember that when you think of Microsoft. Almost every single game that they have on Game Pass Ultimate, which we recommend here at Stick Style and our Phoenix Media Group, almost none of them are owned by by Microsoft. They've acquired all of them. So let's get into some of the Bethesda announcements. First one is going to be Starfield. This is going to be on Xbox X, S, and PC on November 11th, which again is, I had an argument with FreeMo on the phone the other night about this. He says it's the 26th of November. I said it's the 11th, but there's a date that's the Xbox anniversary. So every year, like from the first time it was released in November, FreeMo says 28th, and I lean toward that. But all announcements have been on the 11th, and then you could pick it up on the 28th. So I think we're both right. But anyway, PC, it's going to be on PC November 11th. 25 years in the making, Bethesda said. 25 years in the making for a Han Solo simulator. I thought that was a great comment. Stalker 2 is going to be on Game Pass day one, which is a great part about Game Pass. You get day one games. Game Pass day one, April 22nd of next year. Again, a lot of stuff on E3 comes out next year. This is a survival shooter. Back for Blood. Game Pass day one again. It's a zombie shooter, and it's the successor, really the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, which is kind of cool. Because Left 4 Dead was fun. If you have a couple of guys over the house, or if you're playing online and you have the access to Left 4 Dead, and friends do as well, play it. You'll be happy because it's just people. It's just zombie killing. Zombie killing is always good. Contraband. No announcement as to time or date. It's a co-op open world shooter set in the 70s. Looks real good. Again, set in the 70s, so you got that 70s flavor. Great for Gen Xers. It's absolutely a Gen Xer game. It looks great. Again, it's an open world shooter, and we don't know that much about it yet. Sea of Thieves Pirate Life. It's already out. You already heard about it. It's bringing the Pirates of the Caribbean. About time. I mean, kind of. Didn't see that coming, did you? And from what I saw on the demo, it looked like Jack Sparrow is actually Johnny Depp, but everybody else, all the other characters you see from Pirates of the Caribbean are going to be dubbed, or other people. They sound all right, but they're other people. Battlefield 2042, no announcement time or date. Updates and upgrades to the current franchise, as you expect. Wow, damn. Oh, I gotta take a drink. That's awful when that happens. You ever had that? You just you go to swallow and it feels like there's, pricklies in your throat. Wow, that was strange. Anyway, so Battlefield 2042, no announcements. It's basically, it's the same franchise you've grown to love. Just upgrades to the franchise. Newer weapons, things like that. It's supposed to be future dated. So there's a couple of weapons that are like really like future dated. From what I can tell from the demo, you're getting guns and stuff that you used to now with all the upgrades. Oh man, I wish you could do this, wish you could do this. That just aren't possible right now, which is why some of the current games don't use them. But if you could do this, this, and this, it allows you to do it. Again, it's a Battlefield game. It's going to look great. You're going to be able to pump up, all your graphics for it. It's going to be really huge. And they're apparently supposed to support 128 players online. 128 players. Wish Bungie would, not Bungie, Microsoft, and there's the answer to my question. And Microsoft would do it with Halo. Halo needs I love Halo, but man, Halo needs a battle royale that would really, I think that would really kill it. It would really kill it. And not kill it like bad, like kill it like it would sell out. Everybody would be playing it because everybody grew up, Gen Xers and below had Halo. Even the Gen Xers that had kids when they were young, that's the game that we had in our Xbox, so that's the game the kids play. My son's first gaming experience, especially with me, was playing Halo Griffball. He was 8 years old. So that game holds tight to people. If you have a battle royale where you can just do that, it's going to be awesome. But who knows if they're going to do that. Anyway, 12 minutes, another game. Interested in this game, people? 12 minutes. Keep it on your radar. August 19th, it's going to be out. It's 12-minute loops from top down. So it's I got to put this on. Jeez, I haven't even touched any of this stuff. It's a top-down story action adventure. It's hard to explain what it is, but it's so freaking cool. You have William Dafoe in it playing the police officer, I believe. McAvoy is doing it with an American accent as the man in the relationship. Daisy Ridley from Star Wars is, again, American accent, which I don't agree with, but she does it halfway decent. She's the female lead in it. And it's 12 minutes of figuring out. It's so hard to explain. I can't. You got to go to the show notes. You got to click on the link and you got to click on the video because you have to watch it. It's a storyline based. It's like choose your own adventure almost. I could say murder mystery, but then it's not a murder mystery. It becomes something else. It becomes like a paranormal investigation, and then another storyline. Again, you're looping 12 minutes of time. It's really well done. I don't have enough good things to say about it. And of course, they showed off Halo's Infinite Halo Infinite multiplayer, which again, you're not impressed me. It's multiplayer. I expect it. I expect a good big team battle, if not a battle royale. If you're not going to do a battle royale, I expect on Halo to see 100 people at a time with absolutely no issues, and on Blood Gulch, period. If you launch with Blood Gulch and minimum 50 players, 25 on each team, maximum 100 players on each team, 100 players on each team, 50 players on each team, I'm down. And there was a whole bunch of other games. Click on the show notes. You'll see all the other games. But what everybody's talking about from E3, ironically, is the mini fridge, which I will be getting. I'm telling you, I'll be getting. Oh, what the hell happened to the live feed? I will be getting this without a shadow of a doubt. So The Rock and iJustine got a large, full-size fridge, Xbox-themed, Xbox Series X-themed fridge, and it really worked, and it was really cool. You open it up, it plays the Xbox sound, it's got green lights, it looks like an Xbox. It's brilliant. At E3, they announced, just awesome. It was just, It was the mini fridge. It's a mini fridge. You know, you're going to put like 6 cans of soda in it or 2 taller cans or whatever the case. Who the cares? It's a mini fridge, which is very cool. If it opens, they didn't really show too much about it, but if it opens and it makes the Xbox sound, that's cash money right there. That's just cash money right there. But again, being E3 and being very weird this year, you know, Nintendo was there too, but Nintendo, they had announcements, but they kind of missed the boat on a couple of things, and you'll see why in a second. They announced the Breath of the Wild 2 for Link or Legends of Zelda, which again, that's not what everybody was waiting for. Then they announced the Game & Watch Legend of Zelda. Again, not what everybody was waiting for. Mario Party Superstars coming out October 29th with 100 mini games, they said. Sounds like fun. I played this with my son and my daughter. It really is fun. You know, those that Mario games are always fun. I don't give a shit who you are. Super Monkey Ball is coming back. That's October 5th. So all of these things are exciting, but not what anybody wanted to hear about. What people wanted to hear about was the high definition, HDR screened, 4K screened, whatever the hell you wanted, Switch Pro. And it wasn't announced. And the rumor that I'm getting is that it wasn't announced because the chip shortage. They can't get enough chips for the Nintendo Pro. They know that as old as the Nintendo Lite and, the Nintendo Lite as well, but even the original Nintendo Switch, they know that the how old it is, they need to update it a little bit with updated graphics, especially where you can get a better screen. And they know that people are going to buy this hand over fist because both of those consoles, the Lite and the full-size Switch, are doing great in numbers still. We can't keep them in stock. They're still doing great, and they're still coming out with quality games or games that have been out and you definitely want to play. So it's definitely something that's cool. And it just breaks my heart because they don't have the chip shortage. And I think Nintendo, as we've talked about before on the show, it's smart for Nintendo to do this. And the reason why is because Nintendo is not owned by Microsoft. Nintendo is not owned by Sony. Nintendo is owned by Nintendo. They have to make their own money. They can't, if Xbox or Sony has a bad year, they fall on their parent company, Microsoft and Sony, respectively. You can't do that if you're Nintendo because you're Nintendo. You own your product. You're selling your product, which always makes them a wild card. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. You can talk VR shit all you want. They might not want to do VR, but if they decide to do VR, I guarantee you Sony and Microsoft to be on notice because they don't have to do anything but make money on it. So as long as they do something that's true to their style, they'll make money on it because people are going to buy it because they're Nintendo fans and they love Nintendo. And one of the things that surprised the shit out of me at E3, it really did. And I told FreeMo about it on the phone the other night, and he called me a liar because he's a dick. But the Atari was there again. Yeah, buddy. We talked months ago. We talked years ago about the vaporware that was the Atari video game system. During the heyday of Nintendo creating that smaller system for $60, the Super Nintendo for smaller $60, the Sega Genesis smaller for $60, everybody was buying them. Gen Xers loved them. I still love it. I still have them downstairs. I still pull them out. It's just a lot of fun to play those nostalgia games on a serious system. It's just smaller. So 3 years ago, Atari said they were going to do one. And we were all like, what the fuck? Where is it? Then they released not really a picture. They were at some sort of show. I can't remember what it is. I don't want to say E3 because I don't think it was. But they were at a show. And somebody went across the little velvet rope there to where the actual Atari was. And when they picked it up, it was empty. Like they picked it up and they immediately turned around to their friend and they're like, yeah, there's nothing in here. This is empty. It was just a shell. So for 3 years, we said it was vaporware. And I got to be honest, I got mixed feelings about this bad boy right now. And I have mixed feelings because of a couple of things. So let me just hold on 1 second. I got to get a drink again. Excuse me. My gosh. Ugh. Okay. That should be better. Wow. No way I'm going to remember to edit that out. Anyway, so the Atari gave me very mixed feelings because on the one hand, I wanted to see an Atari Classic unit. I wanted to see it for $40, not $60, because it's so old. Even retro gamers look at those games and are like, yeah, tank. Okay, fun, but damn. So you really you got to be really into that shit to get it. So I was hoping on a $40 thing where you would sell a lot for nostalgia alone. But this thing came out and it could do so much more. They promised the world, and you heard it during the vaporware speeches, and everyone's like, I don't know. And it turned out to come out, and the more they talked about it, it was like, really? You're doing that, huh? Nah, you're not. No, we're going to get it, and it's going to be a bunch of pieces of shit. It's going to suck. But they got it to work, I got to say. So it can be let me start off by saying it could be a PC. And that's what's really, really grabbing me. So yeah, it's an Atari. It's got 100 classic games in it. Plus, you can get new indie games and a few other games, and they'll add stuff. But what really got me was that it can also be a PC, which was really kind of cool. You can install Windows, Ubuntu. You can install Chrome OS if you wanted to. And it's got an AMD processor and graphics card, or GPU, CPU and GPU. Now, again, don't expect there to be a lot of these, because you know that whatever the ones they got, they were very much trying to get as many as possible. So I don't know how many of these are going to be available at launch, but they said they're going to be all right. But it also could be like an Apple TV or a Fire Stick, where you can get Netflix, Disney, HBO, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Facebook, Twitter. You can do it all on this machine. And the pictures they show you on their website, go to the website, click on the show notes, go to the link for it, for the Atari website link, and you'll see that when you get there, the Atari VCS is on somebody's desk on at their computer, or in their home on their computer desk. So it can do a lot of things. I think it's very interesting, even as a home theater type placement, like in your living room. I think it's, again, one of those living room things, and it's doing all the stuff that us hot rodders would do. The thing that makes me laugh is the way they worded some of the shit, which is made by us geeks. Because it says, and I quote, existing PC libraries, retro emulation platforms, and other capabilities are easily unlocked with the right know-how. Well, that means that it's kind of an unlocked system, and all you got to do is utilize it. For instance, I'll give you an example. The original Xbox, if you put MechAssault Warrior in it, which was a demo game, and hit a couple of key combinations, you can boot into the operating system. Once you get into the operating system, I installed Media Center, Xbox Media Center, XBMC. I did Linux too at first, and then I backed it down and did the Xbox Media Center, which basically took what we were having on Xbox and just added a little bit more to it. I could have a free run DVD or CD player. It was really nice. This is basically giving you that right now. So you might be wondering how much this is going to be. It's going to be at Atari's website. Best Buy, Micro Center is going to sell it. It's going to be $300 for the straight black edition, but $400 is going to get you for the all-in edition. And that's the standard system with the brown fake sticker wood on the front, just like the original Atari. And you're going to get what looks to be an original Atari controller, but has a futuristic or update, I guess, for today's standards. Very cool. And a traditional gaming controller that plugs into the Atari and branded with Atari. I think it's pretty badass. One of the other things I thought was interesting, and besides the Atari finally coming out and actually doing what they say, I can't wait for its first review. I'm not buying one. Not right away. I want to, but there's no way I can justify it. This thing, though, and if you're watching the video, you'll see it. It's the new Turtle Beach. They just announced it. It's called the Velocity 1 Flight Universal Control System. And this thing is pretty cool looking. So, again, it's Turtle Beach. They've been in the game forever, and they know what they're doing. They really do. Whether you like their products or not, they kind of know what they're doing. And a lot of times when you see, it's hard to explain, Logitech basic stuff, and especially Turtle Beach, really stick shit down to basics. If you search through some of the videos that we posted and shows that we did. I still have it right there because it's a cool looking unit. The Turtle Beach streaming, before anybody else, they had a streaming microphone. It wasn't that good. In fact, it was really bad. But then they did a firmware update, but it was too late, too little, too late. The firmware update fixed everything on the damn thing, and it really sounds not as good as this mic that I use here, but damn close to like the Elgatos and the HyperX. It doesn't sound half bad. Anyway, this flight controller is pretty badass. It's $350. It works with Xbox and PC, and as you can see, it's got the standard flight controller steering wheel, and it's got 4 pull down. It's got 4 levers to do pull downs and push ups, and you have to see it to understand it. It's 4 levers that you can slide down on a half circle or slide up on the half circle for throttle, and it's huge. It's an absolute unit. It works for Xbox and PC. It's very cool for flight sim people, but what I wanted to talk about mostly, because I'm just that much of a geek. I mean, even wearing my Hoth ski team Star Wars shirt, is that what happens when you throw this in Star Wars Squadrons? Like, am I going to get a chance to fly the Millennium Falcon and actually have those throttles in the same spot that you see on the Solo movie and on all the Star Wars movies that have the Millennium Falcon in them? Can I feel like Han with this unit? Because if the answer is yes, I'll be getting it. And I'll be bolting it up to this desk, and I'll be playing Star Wars Squadrons on a 49-inch ultra-wide monitor, and I will absolutely think that I'm Han Solo. Look, I even have in our media room where we record Stick Style. So when you see Stick Style in the back corner over my shoulder, there's a black cabinet, and it has a lot of Star Wars collectibles in it. One of the things in that cabinet is steel dice that Han Solo has hanging in the Millennium Falcon. I will put that shit up here around the the webcam and let it dangle in the middle of the screen. I don't give a shit. I'm flying the Millennium Falcon with a flight stick controller. I think that's badass, and I kind of want to try it, and I got to try to talk, the accountants for Fenix Media Group to allow this, and I'm pretty confident they're not going to. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get shot down, unfortunately. But, hell, it doesn't hurt to ask, you know what I mean? Why not ask? Let's get into the last segment of today, do a little ranting. Let me start by asking you this. Have you ever got something that you own, right? And you broke it, whether it was accidental or it was just a little bit older. The bottom line is you broke it. But then you figured out a way to get it to work again, whether you used, even for a little while till you get a replacement, whether it was duct tape or Gorilla Glue, or my wife used a shoe goop, which is like cement. I don't even know how the hell that shit works, but man, that is strong. There's a bunch. Gorilla Tape now. So whenever you do that, that's actually hacking. That's a version of hacking. And it's time hacking gets stopped labeled as a terrorist act. And I was just bringing it up because I saw another article while I was going through news, because again, I go through like 1,500 news stories, or headlines I should say, a day, just to figure out what I'm going to do with the show. And the hacking thing really got me kind of irked, like really irked, because there was an article, and I put it in the show notes, that they really kind of make terrorists, well, the article's defending us, but making hackers seem like terrorists, and we're really not. You're hacking a system, whether it's yours or not. Let's say the early days of the iPhone, you wanted to have your own themes on the iPhone. You wanted cool blue folders that look like something that Tony Stark would have. Okay. Why can't you? Because Apple said you can't. But I just paid $1,000 for this phone. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want with it. It's $1,000. What the hell's wrong with you? And it never happened. Like, you couldn't do it. You had to jailbreak the phone, and then there was all sorts of problems with jailbreaks. Then as soon as they would find out there was a jailbreak, Apple would do an update, and as soon as the update hit, it would break the jailbreak. So it was definitely a tough time. But in no way, shape, or form are any of us hackers even remotely terrorists. I mean, it doesn't matter. Look, hackers are a definite group, and we're a self-regulating group, really. Where if you have a good example is Anonymous. Anonymous is Legion. Nobody's really sure. There's probably like 2 or 3 guys that actually run Anonymous, so to speak. But outside of that, everybody claims they're Anonymous. And you have elite hackers that are portraying as being part of Anonymous or on the lower tiers of Anonymous and doing nefarious things. That's not even right either. Not nefarious. You know, you poke things. For instance, I'll give you a great example. And this is a fact. You can look this up. The guy that did the security, the social security number, the Loctite or some shit like that years ago, where he would drive these cars around New York and say that you can't be hacked. LifeLock, that's what it was. LifeLock, and he had LifeLock, and he was so confident in LifeLock that he put his social security number on the side of a billboard on a vehicle and drove it around New York. Okay, and we've talked about this. In fact, FreeMo was on the show when we talked about this originally. The bottom line is, don't poke the hackers, okay? Don't poke us. The Gen Xers, don't fuck with us. We've been through some shit, okay? We're still waiting for our promised land, and we're working our best to get there, even if we got to do it ourselves, though you promised it. And we're dealing with the millennials. You guys got to give us some slack, okay? And while you're doing this whole song and dance that you got going on, we're not hacking anything. We're just trying to make things work. And if I own it, I should be able to own it, and I should be able to go into it, and I should be able to change the shit that I want to change on it. You know, it shouldn't be labeled as something terrible, because those hackers are the same people that hack into your computer and get your data off of it. These are the same people that hack into your computer system on your car and get the anti-lock brakes to stop locking up all the time. Those are hackers from the basic level to the most advanced level. And don't poke, like I was saying before, don't poke, the actual hackers, because they will hack you. This guy from LifeLock got hacked because he went on TV. Yeah, was it something he advertised on the website? Absolutely. Go get it. It's a good shit. Go get it. It's going to lock you down. But then he went on TV and said, I can never be hacked. No, everybody can be hacked, okay? Don't try it, man. There's always examples. From what I remember from the back channels, regardless of what they said on TV, it was one of his assistants, because he got so popular, so famous. One of his assistants let go of some sort of password information, and I'm assuming it was like his children's name or date of birth or something like that a hacker simply utilized to get into the system with one password. Once you get into the system with one password, just like we saw with Colonial Pipeline, it's over. It's a done deal. And they own you at that point. So, again, stop using hackers, that term, because it's not a bad term. And before we go, let me touch on a subject that really bothers me, and I honestly don't know why. But it has nothing to do with me, but it irks me so much. And that's Nielsen ratings. So, FreeMo, I wish he was here, because he would be laughing his ass off. He's in sensitivity training, so maybe he wouldn't be laughing his ass off, because he'd be more sensitive. I went for a job decades ago, at Nielsen Rating Systems. And what I saw in that office, I didn't want the job. I tanked the interview because I didn't want to disrespect him, because he took time out of his day. Knowing what I know now, I would have just left, and he would have had, a free 20 minutes to his day. But I didn't want to work there. First thing I saw when I walk in there is a little tiny place. They make it seem like it's a big corporate place. It's not. It's the second floor of a building somewhere. On the board, the marker board, which is a giant marker board they have in every single one of the locations at the time, it was just listing names, ages, dates, just information. Somebody snaps a picture nowadays with a cell phone. It's a data issue. But at the time, you didn't need to worry about that. But it had everybody's name, and it was all ages. And there was like nobody under the age of 65 on that list. Nobody. Those were Nielsen people. Then when I worked for the cable company, I saw Nielsen firsthand. They would come into houses, tube televisions, or at the time starting to get flat panel TVs in, plasma TVs in. They never changed their model. You have to open up the back of the TV. You have to attach wiring and cabling, basically wiring, soldering wiring to the board for vertical and horizontal, so that they can literally tell when you change the channel and what frequency you change it to. That was their fucking system. That was their entire system, was they would do that. And as soon as they saw the vertical and the horizontal change, they knew that the TV was, the channel was changing on the TV. What did it change to and from? That frequency to that frequency. What area do they live in? Okay, 66.25 megahertz is channel 6 out of Boston. I don't know. Making shit up. 11 out of Albuquerque. Albuquerque. Who knows? But that's the way they did their system. And it was archaic then. I actually sat in that thing and I was like, look, with Motorola's new cable box technology, which some of us older people might have seen, they're the large Motorola boxes the cable company would give you, they were stripped down. But if you bought them from Motorola, which some of us did, they were completely wide open. They were friggin' awesome. They had DVRs in them before DVRs were even popular. They had hard drives you could swap out. They had USB connections so you can have an external video. There wasn't anything this thing didn't do. And Motorola, right up until the end, would install new updates to it, but the cable companies would just cripple them so that you would have to rent them for $15, $16, and just, you were watching cable. That's all you were ever doing. So Nielsen, I was the one that, I wasn't the only one, I'm sure, but I sat at that office in that thing, I'm like, you do realize that the cable company tracks all of this stuff already. They're like, not the same way. Well, yeah, I know it's not the same way. They're not opening up people's TVs and voiding their warranties to connect two lines to get $5 a month. Like it didn't to this day still doesn't make sense. But they just came out with an update, which cracked me up. I thought for sure this company was gone. These asshats said that they are now closer to cracking the question of how big is streaming? Really? This is how big is streaming? Streaming's pretty friggin' big. Company's been around, just to give you some longevity, company's been around for 98 years. 98 years. And their way of doing television, I shit you not, hasn't changed in somewhere around 50 years. They just, I don't understand how this company's in business. I don't understand how they're still making money. I don't get it, because their information and their technology to gather information is absolutely awful. Awful. Read the article. Just stop giving this company money. Hold on. Let me pull that up just before we go tonight, because I got to read the bottom of this article. Hold on. On Thursday, the firm reported that 64% of the time American viewers use their television sets in May 2021 was spent watching network and cable TV, while they watched streaming services about 26% of the time. Okay, asshats. If you have cable, you're watching cable. We use YouTube TV. We watch YouTube TV most of the time until we go, hey, ready to watch a movie? Yeah, let's watch a movie. And we switch over to one of our streaming services. That's kind of the way it fucking works. You asshats. That's the way it works. That's just the way it works. Another 9% of the time, they were using their TV screens for things like video games or watching programs or films they had saved on DVR. Really? This is news to you. This is fucking news to you. You're making money on reporting this. The streaming share is increasing rapidly. It stood at about 20% last year, and then in 2019, it was at 14%. Nielsen's spokesman said that the firm anticipates that the streaming share could go up to about 33%. Holy shit. Who is paying these people money? Who? You know what? Maybe I should apply there. Because they have some sort of scam going that's working friggin' great. And I can make up these bullshit information all the time. Well, you know, if you sell more, the company will make more. Why? I can't. It's awful. Well, that's it for this week. 10's down, show's over. Drop us an email. Say hello. If you have a request for some topic that we want to cover, that we used to cover, or that you need us to talk about, let us know. But that's it for this week. 10's down, show's over.
So you can find more of this garbage at bgfgonline.com. You can also send us an email with your questions or suggestions at bgfgshow@gmail.com. Find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, Podcast, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.